Welcome to The Deep Dive, your essential guide for cutting through the noise and extracting the most important insights from the latest financial reports and corporate updates.
Glad to be here.
Today, we're taking a closer look at EyePoint's second quarter 2025 financial results. And some truly intriguing corporate developments came up on their call.
Yeah, that call was on August 6th.
Right, and it generated some, immediate market reactions, let's say. But we're going to show you why the real story runs much deeper than just the headline numbers.
Absolutely. While the market initially focused on what looked like a financial miss, management was very quick to pivot.
Mm-hmm.
They highlighted a pretty compelling narrative of robust operational execution.
Okay.
So we're going to explore how they're strategically positioning themselves for major clinical milestones and, what that means for their long-term value proposition, especially for a company at this stage.
Let's get right to those headline numbers then, because they certainly grab attention. EyePoint reported a GAAP EPS, that's generally accepted accounting principles, earnings per share of -$0.85.
Right.
Which missed the consensus estimate, basically what analysts were expecting, around 0.80 cents to $0.82.
Business there, yeah.
And revenue came in at $5.3 million, also below the consensus, which was near $6.6 million. That marks a pretty significant 44% year-over-year decrease from $9.5 million.
That's a big drop.
Yeah. And operating expenses also saw a substantial jump. They rose to $67.6 million, up from $44.0 million.
Primarily driven by
their accelerated phase 3 trial spend. That led to a net loss of $59.4 million for the quarter.
Okay, so those top-line figures certainly caught the market's immediate attention, initially led to some apprehension, you could say.
Bet.
However, what's crucial to note here, despite the increased spend and a wider net loss, the company firmly affirmed a strong cash position, $256 million.
Okay, that's a decent cushion.
It's more than decent. It provides them with a clear financial runway that extends into 2027.
Into 2027.
Crucially, beyond their key 2026 data readouts.
Okay.
So the significant financial cushion really allows them to prioritize and focus squarely on clinical execution. They don't have immediate capital concerns, which, is often a stumbling block for clinical stage biotechs.
Okay, let's unpack this apparent contradiction then. You've got a financial miss, but management's pushing this exceptional execution narrative.
Right.
They shifted the conversation quite effectively, actually, to their clinical programs. And what immediately leaps out is the incredible pace of enrollment.
Yeah, for their pivotal phase 3 trials, LUGANO and LUCIA. For wet-AMD.
They completed enrollment for both studies. That's over 800 patients total in just 7 months.
7 months. It's blistering speed.
And that's incredibly fast for trials this size.
And what's truly fascinating here isn't just the sheer speed, though that's impressive.
Right.
Management views this as a very strong signal, a signal of significant unmet demand from the retina community for a more durable therapy.
Makes sense.
Think about it. Enrolling over 800 patients in complex studies for a chronic condition like wet-AMD in just 7 months. It speaks volumes.
It really does.
It de-risks a major aspect of the clinical timeline patient recruitment and strategically positions EyePoint. They could potentially be first to file and, critically, first to market among the current investigational sustained-release therapies for wet-AMD.
First to market potential is huge.
And that kind of rapid enrollment demonstrates strong physician belief in the potential of the drug, its mechanism. That's a powerful indicator in itself.
And these weren't just, U.S.-only trials either. LUGANO was primarily U.S., enrolled 432 patients. But LUCIA, with over 400 patients, went global. South America, Europe, Israel, Australia, India.
That broad global interest really highlights widespread demand, potential for a global market.
So with that kind of momentum, what are the key timelines? What do you and our listeners need to keep an eye on for these pivotal programs?
Okay, so we're looking at top-line data for LUGANO. That's expected mid-2026.
Mid-2026.
With LUCIA data anticipated shortly thereafter, second half of 2026.
Okay, so 2026 is the big year for wet-AMD data.
Definitely. And beyond wet-AMD, they also gave an update for their diabetic macular edema program, DME.
Right, the Verona trial.
Yeah, they reported highly positive phase 2 Verona results, and they expect to share their phase 3 plan update in the second half of this year, 2025.
Okay, so news on DME coming sooner.
With the first patient enrollment plan for 2026. So yeah, multiple significant catalysts are definitely on the horizon.
Now this brings us to DURAVYU itself. This is where EyePoint's story really seems to diverge from, well, the usual suspects. It sounds like it's a genuinely different approach, not just another incremental tweak. Can you explain what makes DURAVYU fundamentally different from the current anti-VEGF treatments? Why all the excitement?
That really is the million-dollar question, isn't it? And it's key to understanding the company's potential. DURAVYU isn't just another anti-VEGF biologic.
Okay.
It's a sustained-release tyrosine kinase inhibitor, a TKI. TKI.
Right.
For those less familiar, TKIs are a class of targeted drugs. They precisely block specific cellular signaling pathways that drive disease.
Got it.
In this case, DURAVYU is designed to inhibit all VEGF receptors, not just one or two like current anti-VEGFs. And crucially, it also targets the PDGF receptor.
All VEGF and PDGF. Okay, that sounds more comprehensive.
It is. This multi-pronged attack means it goes after more of the underlying disease drivers in wet AMD.
Right.
And this broader inhibition is what allows for the potential of stable vision and retinal anatomy with a remarkable 6-month dosing interval.
6 months, that's the other big piece.
Huge piece.
So
Right.
if I'm getting this right, it's not just the convenience, going from maybe every 2 months to every 6 months.
No, although that's significant.
It's also about a more comprehensive attack on the disease itself, potentially leading to better, more consistent outcomes.
Precisely.
That really does sound like a potential game changer for patients.
The convenience for patients is huge, you're right. Reducing clinic visits from, say, 6 times a year down to just 2. That can dramatically improve compliance, reduce the treatment burden in a chronic condition like wet AMD.
Absolutely.
But the scientific differentiator, hitting those multiple pathways simultaneously, means we're not just managing symptoms, we're potentially addressing the disease more robustly.
Which could reshape treatment.
Exactly. Could truly reshape treatment paradigms in this massive, a $10 billion plus market. It's a compelling combo. Patient benefit and scientific advancement.
And they're ready on the manufacturing side, too.
Seems like it. They highlighted their Northbridge, Massachusetts commercial manufacturing facility is online. And DURAVYU registration batches are already underway. That manufacturing readiness is, well, critical for credibility and for a smooth transition as they get closer to potential commercialization.
No point having great data if you can't make the drug.
Exactly right.
And on the regulatory front, they've been busy, too.
Yep. The company confirmed positive DSMC recommendations to continue the trials.
DSMC, Data Safety Monitoring Committee.
Correct. These are independent committees that review trial data. Looking for patient safety, efficacy trends, positive recommendations are a good sign.
And they got EMA approval, too, European Medicines Agency.
Secured EMA protocol approvals for phase 3, yeah. Which further validates their approach, maybe de-risks it a bit in regulators' eyes, and widens their potential market access.
Good steps. And the trial design itself.
They detailed it. It's double-masked. Neither patients nor doctors know who gets what treatment.
Standard practice.
And it's a non-inferiority study against on-label aflibercept.
Okay, non-inferiority, meaning they aim to show it's at least as good as the current standard, aflibercept, not necessarily better.
Correct. Which makes sense when your main advantage might be the 6-month dosing schedule. Comparable efficacy with much better convenience is a win.
Right.
And this design was worked out in close alignment with the FDA. It includes both treatment-naive and previously treated patients, roughly a 7-5-25 split.
So a mix of patient types.
Yeah, reflecting the real world more closely. They're even planning an open-label extension study to get that longer-term benefits data.
Okay, sounds like a solid plan. Let's swing back to the market reaction then.
Sure.
That initial pre-market dip, about 4.5% on earnings day, then closing down 2.8%, that clearly reflected the focus on the financial miss, the wider loss.
It did.
But the performance since then tells a much more compelling story, doesn't it? What does this outperformance really tell us about how investors are looking at EyePoint?
Well, that initial reaction was definitely a bit of a knee-jerk, numbers-focused response.
Yeah.
But despite that, the stock has shown remarkable resilience and outperformance. Since the call, it's up approximately 23% in 1 month.
23%.
53% over 3 months and 54% over the last year.
Wow. And how does that compare to the sector?
It significantly outperforms the Biotech ETF, XBI. XBI actually saw a 5% decline over that same year.
Okay, so a huge divergence there.
Huge. This turnaround strongly suggests investors are weighing operational execution, especially within these critical clinical programs, far more heavily than those short-term P&L optics.
So they're looking past the quarterly numbers.
They're looking beyond the immediate financials to the long-term potential driven by these clinical milestones.
And the analysts seem to agree.
By and large, yes. Analyst sentiment has been overwhelmingly positive. You saw firms like Mizuho lifting their price target to $28, maintaining an outperform rating post-call, and they specifically cited this program momentum.
Right.
This divergence between the headline financials and the longer-term investor enthusiasm really points to the highly event-driven nature of this stock.
Makes sense for a clinical stage biotech.
Absolutely. Key catalysts to watch. That DME phase 3 design update coming in the second half of 2025.
Okay.
And of course, the definitive LUGANO and LUCIA top-line data in 2026. Those are the big ones.
Gotcha. And anything interesting from the Q&A on the call?
A couple of things. They discuss their strict rescue criteria in the trials.
Rescue criteria.
Yeah, these are predefined conditions where patients might get additional treatment if their condition worsens during the trial. It's about patient safety.
Right.
They emphasize this is a necessity for robust trial design, but it's different from real-world practice where a doctor might intervene sooner based on discretion. It doesn't necessarily mean the drug failed.
Important clarification.
And they also mention highly positive feedback from the ASRS conference, American Society of Retina Specialists.
Oh, yeah. What were specialists saying?
Apparently, physicians were genuinely excited about getting a new mechanism of action, the TKI, offering true 6-month durability. That's a big deal coming from the clinicians.
That feedback is definitely noteworthy. Indicates the potential advantage is resonating.
For sure. Physicians are on the front lines. Their enthusiasm is a powerful indicator of future adoption potential. Oh, and one final note on revenue.
Yeah.
The company has fully exited its specialty pharma business now, so future revenue will be negligible, de minimis, as they put it.
So they're purely a clinical stage company focused on DURAVYU now.
Exactly. Simplifies the story, sharpens the focus.
All right, let's pivot to our final segment. This is purely for entertainment and speculative thought. Remember, we are not financial advisors. This is not financial advice. Always, always do your own due diligence.
Absolutely. Standard disclaimer applies.
But considering the highly binary nature of these big biotech readouts and EyePoint's strong operational narrative against, well, a pretty volatile biotech backdrop, what's an outrageous but plausible trade idea someone might consider here?
Okay, well, keeping in mind the high stakes and the binary nature, you could potentially construct a highly speculative long straddle option position on EYPT.
The long straddle. Okay.
Expiring in late 2026, specifically targeting that LUGANO and LUCIA top-line data window.
Okay, explain that. For listeners who might not know, what's a long straddle and why that strategy here?
Right, so the idea behind a long straddle is essentially to bet on significant price movement in either direction.
Up or down. Doesn't matter which way, just needs to move big.
Exactly. You buy both a call option and a put option with the same strike price and the same expiration date, late 2026 in this hypothetical.
Okay.
Now, management's execution has been, as they say, exceptional, and physician feedback sounds very positive. But biotech trials inherently carry substantial risk. It's never a sure thing.
Understood.
So if the data is overwhelmingly positive, exceeds expectations, the stock could skyrocket. Your call options become extremely valuable.
Right.
Conversely, if the data is negative or maybe just misses expectations, the stock could tank and your put options could soar.
So you're covered either way, assuming a big move.
That's the theory. The catch is the market knows this is a binary event, so the implied volatility leading into it will likely be elevated, meaning those options will be expensive. You pay a substantial premium for the straddle.
Ah, okay. So the move has to be big enough to overcome the cost of buying both options.
Precisely. But if the magnitude of the eventual stock price move is large enough, the payoff could be, well, outrageous, as the segment title suggests. It's a high-conviction bet on extreme volatility itself, playing both sides when the stakes are highest.
Interesting. Definitely a speculative play on volatility around those key 2026 dates.
Highly speculative, yes. Purely hypothetical.
Got it. So let's recap the whole EyePoint situation. Second quarter financials showed misses on EPS and revenue.
Yep, the headline numbers weren't great.
But the management team delivered a really clear, consistent narrative. Focus on operational strength, exceptional execution, particularly around those pivotal phase 3 wet-AMD trials.
LUGANO and LUCIA enrollment being the prime example.
And the market's initial negative reaction. It quickly gave way to a more cautious, constructive view, maybe. The stock significantly outperformed its peers after the call.
Suggesting investors are looking deeper, weighing that clinical stage value proposition.
The critical takeaway seems to be the strong positioning of DURAVYU. Novel mechanism of action targeting multiple pathways.
That TKI approach.
And that compelling potential for 6-month dosing. All backed by a robust clinical plan and, importantly, manufacturing readiness.
Right. Investors will be keenly watching that upcoming DME Phase 3 update later this year.
And then, of course, the definitive top-line data for LUGANO and LUCIA in 2026.
Those are the make-or-break readouts. EyePoint is truly betting on execution driving value, even while the P&L remains, a trailing indicator for now.
This company is clearly demonstrating that in the world of clinical stage biotech, operational prowess and clinical progress can sometimes significantly outweigh immediate financial results for investors.
It really can.
Which raises an important question for you, our listener. When you look at emerging biotech, how much weight do you put on a company's scientific innovation and execution versus its immediate quarterly numbers? Something to think about.
Definitely food for thought. We encourage you to dig deeper into EyePoint's pipeline, their strategy. Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.
We'll be back soon with another deep dive into the numbers and stories that move the markets.